night is the Rangers Journal night.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Thursday, the 17th of April, and this is your pre-match pod as Rangers head over to the Basque Country for our Europa League quarter-final second leg against Athletic Club de Bilbao. Exciting game. Joining me to go through the pre-match thoughts as we're just waiting for the team to be announced is Billy. How are we doing, my man?
Good, getting excited. It's not, we've done really well in Europe last 5 or 6 years, but still been one match away from a semi-final. That's pretty historic stuff. So I've been trying not to get too excited, but the closer you get, you know what it's like.
Absolutely. I think you try and remain calm, but I think that kind of bit as soon as the team's announced, I think it really gets you. It really gets you going, especially when there's still so much to play for in the tie. You know, where it's basically a one-game shootout for a quarter-final where we could play either Manchester United or Lyon. Obviously, their game finished 2 each in France, the first leg. So, do you know what I mean? It's all to play for now. You know, we've not got a game at the weekend either. So, you'd like to think the guys will get there, just leave it all in the park and get nothing to lose.
I'm really hoping so, and it's one of those occasions that makes me realise why I probably couldn't be a player, because you know that whole like ice in the sort of veins, fire in the belly. I'd be out halving someone in the first 30 seconds, just jacked up and adrenalised and ready to go. So I've always admired players who were able, like Barry, who was able to go out and play with that controlled passion. And I think that's what we're going to need tonight. It's going to have to be disciplined, because I don't know if you've seen the stats on the refereeing team. Referee who's on tonight, in 14 UEFA games this season, he's had 49 yellows and 5 reds. And we've had form with him as well. So I think we might have to be careful tonight. I think he's card happy.
I mean, that's usually what we get in Europe, don't we? We always seem to get the kind of bit, the ones that just like to wave their cards about. Billy, the team's just been announced, so but that's by obviously Rangers official club Twitter. We'll just go through it. It's obviously Liam Kelly keeps his space in goal. Perhaps surprising. I think people were maybe talking about would Jack Butland come back in. It looks to be like a back five of Ridvan Yilmaz, based on the way the team's presented. Ridvan Yilmaz, James Tavernier, Liam Balogun, John Souttar, and Jeff Day. The midfield of Nikola Raskin, Mo Diamandi, and Yanis Hadji, with perhaps a front two of Václav Černý supporting Cyril Dessers. Anything there that surprises you?
No, I don't know about surprise. A lot of people were talking about having Iggeman in from the start. Personally, I prefer Černý and Dessers for an away game like this. When you see Dessers in Fenerbahce, for example, and even I think maybe the Union Saint-Gilloise game before that, where he runs in behind maybe in a way that Iggeman doesn't. And I was hoping Barry would go for like maybe 60 minutes of Dessers once they get tired a wee bit. If we're still in it, Iggeman's the kind of guy, you've seen it in the last few games, he doesn't need to get in behind. He can conjure something out of nothing with 2 or 3 defenders in front of him. So I'm actually quite happy with that. I'm hoping to see, you're hoping to surprise Bilbao, and what we didn't have last week, we've got now is Diamandi. So we've got a midfielder who's good in the half turn, who can wriggle through 2 or 3 players and actually get through layers of pressing. So I'm hoping that might catch him off guard a wee bit, and he is one of his better European nights.
Absolutely. I think based on the sitters he's missed over the last 2 games, he's due a goal by the complete law of averages.
It's the Dessers effect. Well, you say that, but I mean, sometimes you think he misses 3, he's going to get the 4th. As we've seen, he can miss 12 and he'll get the 13th. So that's the joy of Cyril Dessers. He could be world class tonight. And 6 days of the week, if we were playing a Spanish side sitting 4th in La Liga away, I'd be expecting us to get humped. But on Thursday nights, you kind of you suspend disbelief, and anything is possible. So I'm prepared to believe we're going to see the better side of Cyril tonight. We're going to need to, and him and Černý, I think, actually are a good foil for each other in an away game like this. So I'm as happy with the team as I could be, given suspensions and injuries.
Definitely. Obviously, I think the game at Pittodrie on Sunday obviously wasn't going the way we wanted, so the manager kind of had to bring on some faces to try and salvage a bit of personal pride. I think obviously that's why I know Tavernier comes on for an injury, but Diamandi came on at half-time, Yanis Hadji came on. I think these were guys that probably weren't supposed to play on Sunday, but obviously Ridvan Yilmaz didn't play. Suter was on the bench. Václav Černý wasn't even in the team. So these are guys that are fresh. These are guys that hopefully are ready. This game was the priority for the manager, and quite rightly, because this is the last thing we've got to play for. The back five, or we'll call it the back five here of Ridvan, Tavernier, Balogun, Suter and Jefty. Do you think that's... We've seen Ridvan at times play as a kind of right full-back or a right-sided wing-back. Do you think that's just to perhaps keep one of the danger men, Inaki Williams, quiet?
I mean, that's got to be the thinking, because Bilbao have this season, particularly in Europe, they've been a wee bit conservative away from home, which, you know, against us, you could argue they were, or you could say that we kept them quiet. They are going to go for it more at home, and they'll have a wee bit of confidence after the weekend, with Sancet getting a couple of goals and Williams getting a goal as well. So, yeah, Ridvan's one of those players, like, he gives me the fear a bit, because he can have a Dessers-like ability to either have a really cracking game or be an absolute nightmare. And the problem, I think, tonight is if he is a nightmare, we are in serious trouble down the flank. So I'm really hoping that he has one of his better games, because he's going to have to. I think that the attacking options off the flanks from Bilbao is going to cause us problems, and they're going to have to be on it. So whether he'll get to push forward and be much of an attacking option, hopefully, but I'd settle for him from having a decent defensive performance, because the game before, when he got dropped, I mean, he was... some of the passes he was shanking out of play. So I hope that was something he got out of his system. And tonight, like, he's on it. And, you know, it's this side. You know, you can see this side going 2 goals down to anyone, but then they go away in Europe and you can see them, you know, should have had 5 goals in Fenerbahce. So, yeah, fingers crossed on Ridvan, but you just don't know what you're going to get with him. That's what I feel anyway.
Probably what you get from a lot of these players, and that's probably why we've not been so consistent, because you don't know who's going to show up. The problem is the better side of the team seems to show up on a Thursday night when that Europa League music hits. Obviously, we've been over the back four. Liam Kelly keeping his space. Do you think that he's just earned the right to play?
I think that's how you have to do it, really. Personally, I thought he was at fault a wee bit for the Aberdeen free kick. I think he got caught like half a hop. He was on the bounce and he just seemed to move a wee bit late for me. I feel like Butland, with a bigger frame, would have got there and saved it. No way of knowing. Again, should use AI for that. You know, like Jack Butland would he have made that save and see what happened. But I think Kelly hasn't done anything. It hasn't made any major mistakes. The whole reason he was brought in was to settle things down. And to be honest, it got to the stage where it's actually for the good of the team that Kelly comes in, but it was getting to the stage where you kind of had a duty of care to protect Jack Butland, because he must know, he's a confident guy, but he must know, you know, when he's throwing one in on a weekly basis, and he's trying to be the leader, he's trying to be confident, but he must know within himself that actually he's not playing well. So I think even if Butland's the long-term option, and I'm not sure for next season he is, to be honest, but even if he was going to come back in this season, Liam Kelly hasn't done much wrong. He made the penalty save. You know, he's on a high from last week. If you were saying to me, you're going to get the best of Jack Butland or the best of Liam Kelly, Butland goes in every time. But as we've seen, you weren't getting, you know, the middling Jack Butland. You were getting like the howlers. So I think you have to stick with Kelly.
I think it's a very, very fair point. I think, like I say, he's more than earned the right to play. Jack Butland seems to have completely lost his form, and I think it's now become a point where it was becoming more of a hindrance to the team. And I think we've learned that nobody's bigger than the team, and the manager's got to make the right decisions to get the results, and that's all that matters at the end of the day at a club like Rangers. It's not about keeping people happy; it's about winning. And also, we're a club built on it.
I think with Kelly, although he lacks certain the physical attributes Jack Butland's got, he was showing more confidence in coming for things. And I think like a middling goalkeeper playing with a bit of confidence, that actually spreads through the defence. And I think Butland was doing the opposite. I think he was giving them the fear. And I know there's an argument that defenders try harder when the keeper needs protected, but I'd rather on a night like tonight that the defenders just worry about defending and the goalkeeping does the goalkeeping. So I think Kelly's actually settled the defence down a wee bit, if anything.
Definitely. I think the first game, it made such a difference. The amount of times he came out and collected the ball, there was no flapping, there was no punching. It was every time he came out, took the ball, kept it. And I think that's going to be so important, especially in a night like tonight, where we might be under the cosh a little bit more. I think Bilbao will come out and really, really try and press us. First 20, 25 minutes, they'll really want to try and kill the game off. And if we can, if the goalkeeper can come out and be part of that, be part of calming us all down, then I think we're absolutely on a winner there. We'll step forward in the team a wee bit. The midfield, Nikola Raskin, Mo Diamandi, and Yanis Hadji. Diamandi missed the first leg through suspension. Do you think he's nights like this? He's been very, very hit or miss, even in our own, within our set or the podders. There's a bit of a mixed reception towards him. Some people love him. Some people really would happily see him walk out the door. He's got to be the key man tonight. And £4.5 million, you're bringing a guy in. He's got to be the standout, isn't he?
I think he's going to be key to getting us through some of the press. And as I'd mentioned maybe in another pod, I was at the Malmo game, and time and again, he would get the ball with 2 or 3 players around him, and he's the only midfielder we've got that really takes it in the half turn and can wriggle through a couple of challenges, and suddenly you're through the press and you're attacking. So if he has one of those nights, if he can do that, if he can be sort of breaking the press or like getting through a challenge or two, and then he's got Tierney and Dessers ahead to hit, that's how I could see us getting goals tonight. I do take the point that he is a wee bit more erratic than you would like him to be. Maybe that's the stage of his development he's at. But when he's on it, I mean, I think that's the frustrating thing with a player like Diamandi is you can see how good he is a lot of the time. You can see him doing things that our other midfielders can't. So when he's having one of those games where he kind of disappears, then it's frustrating because you could be getting so much more out of him. But I agree with you. I think if we're going to have success tonight and we're going to score, I think he could be key to it. So fingers crossed.
Absolutely. I think I think we always talk about it, and I know it's such a cliche, but the midfield is so important in a game like this. You need to be able to keep the ball. Something where time and again, I think we're notoriously bad for not doing. But I think within there, you've got Diamandi and Hadji, who are football players, if that makes sense. They're good at keeping the ball. They can pick passes. Czerny's really good. He's tactically and technically really good as well. So he's got to get up and he's got to support the enigma up front. If you'll just excuse me for a minute, I'm going to just remove this from our sponsor, but we'll get back to them. It's just to have a look here at the bench. It was cut off. The subs, obviously, Jack Butland, Maguire, it's the youth goalkeeper, Connor Barron, Nedim Budrami, Clinton Nsiala, Hamza Egaman, Danilo, Ross McCausland, Bailey Rice, Finlay Curtis, Thunder Hutton, and McCallion there. Obviously, there's the kind of token young guys in there to fill the bench. The other guys, the kind of first teamers, do you think that's a bench that can change a game if need be?
You'd like to see more in terms of game changers. What I would say is like Egaman coming on for Dessers, like I say, after 60 minutes, if we're in a tight game, you could see that. Danilo coming on, he seems to change the way we attack as well. So yeah, Bayrami, I liked him when he came into the team, but he's more missed than hit at the moment. So he could have an impact. Those are the 3 players that you're looking at saying could make a difference. I'm really happy to see Bailey Rice in. I thought he might be, last week when we saw, when we didn't see, that was the thing, the cameras immediately cut away. My brother and I were watching that going, like when they're only showing you everyone from the shoulders up, you start to get quite worried about what they're not showing you. So delighted to see him. And I could see Bailey Rice contributing, but I think it's Egaman on for Dessers at some point. And you've got Barron can do a solid job, but these are more like for like replacements. I think if you're looking to change the game, it's Egaman, Danilo, and maybe Bayrami. So personally, if we're at this stage next season, after the takeover and hopefully the rebuild's on way, I'd like to see more on the bench in terms of actual game changers. But at least we've got some options. The last couple of seasons, there have been times with injuries where you're hoping to God you don't have to make a substitution because like you've got nothing on the bench. At least we've got, Egaman's like, that's a hell of an option to be bringing on. And I'm sure a lot of fans will be looking tonight wishing he was starting. I wouldn't have argued if he'd started. Personally, I would have gone with Dessers just because of what he offers. But yeah, the bench to me looks okay.
Like I say, I think Egaman's is probably the only debatable change that most of the support would have had. I think we all wanted Czerny back. we were all glad to have Diamandi back, having John Suter back, Liam Balogun not having to play 3 games in a week made such a difference as well. Obviously, we're playing against a Bilbao team who are clearly aiming to get to the Europa League final within their own stadium. Is one of those ones, do you think that they're under mega pressure probably by their support? They've not been firing on all cylinders over the last few weeks. We know they did win obviously 3-1 at the weekend, but they're not in the greatest of form. Do you think we can go there and I think we could go there and absolutely spring a surprise?
I mean, I do. Like, it's you look at this Rangers side in Europe this season and in previous seasons, and we do that. You know, we've won in Spain last season. We've won away from home, like convincingly won away from home at least 3 times I can think of off the top of my head. So yeah, I think we can do it. It is interesting the final being in Bilbao because they have got a good side and they've got good attacking options, probably so good that not all of them will be there next season. So there is a sense that, you know, if they want to do something historic, then this is the time to do it. But it's amazing how often do we hear that narrative in European competitions that it's been held in some big club city at the end of the season, and everyone thinks, oh, that'll be the thing that gets them there. Almost never happens. It does happen, but not as much as you would think. So I'm hoping that if we could maybe nick an early goal or we can get ahead, that actually the carrot of that starts to become more of a sort of burden and they feel the pressure. Because clearly, one thing you'll say, they're not putting all their eggs in the Europa League basket. They played like a full strength side, pretty much probably the team that will play tonight at the weekend. So they wanted to get the points to stay in 4th in La Liga, which they're close to sewing up now, and clearly give them 2 options. So I'm hoping, like you, I'm kind of hoping that you know they go out there and there's. I don't know their players well enough. You know, there are some players go out there and the thought of getting to a final in your home ground, it's chest out and like we're doing this. And then there's other players in their head, they're going, oh, don't let's balls this up. So I guess we'll see something of the mentality tonight, because that, for the right kind of player, that's an extra 5%. For a different kind of player, it's pressure. So yeah, that'll be interesting if we can maybe keep it tight or even go ahead.
Yeah, you're bringing back memories of Bayern Munich getting beaten their own ground in the Champions League final by Chelsea, and Sporting Lisbon reached the UEFA Cup final in their own ground and get beat by CSK Moscow. That's taken us way back, maybe about 20 years ago. So it's perhaps not the greatest omen, and we kind of hope to add to that they're not going to make it to the final. Billy, I'm going to just wrap up. We'll just wrap it up there. Obviously, everybody's been getting extremely excited for the game. I'm going to have to trouble you for a score prediction.
Yeah, I mean, like I know in my head that Bilbao are the favourites, but I'm going for a classic 2-1 Rangers win tonight. Desser's getting at least one of the goals, and I'll go for Igaman getting the winner. But like, I think you know, if anything's possible, but I'm going for a 2-1. And the weird thing is, you know, that doesn't seem like it. You know, sometimes it's wish fulfillment. You're going, oh, 2-1, and you don't believe it. This team, we could get tonked tonight, but if we were to win 2 or 3-1, it also wouldn't be a surprise. It's the weirdest thing to have as much hope and as little hope with this team as you sometimes do. But yeah, 2-1 for me, for Rangers. We
really just love putting the fans through the ringer, don't we? We're just, like I say, we're so bipolar at times, but these are the nights that we expect. You know, we're now in a position where we're allowed to expect to go to places like this and win because we've done so well. There's no, but you know, if you even went back, 15 years, when if we had to go and play a team that was 4th in Spain, you'd be like, right, just get it over and done with. But we're allowed to expect to go here and beat a team of this quality. So I mean, I'm going to agree with you. But I'll say 3-1. I think we might just get an extra one on the counter at the end, just to seal the deal. I really think we can do this. First of all, I want to thank you, Billy, so much for coming in and get your insight. I like it. Just glad to burn off a wee bit of the pre-match adrenaline. So I've just managed to not start going full bore. But no, I'm glad to be here. And hopefully we've done it all for everybody that's been watching. If you do like what you see, please don't forget to like us, share and subscribe on all your social media channels, the Facebook, the Instagram, the X, YouTube, TikTok. We're on every platform you can't get enough of us here at the Rangers Journal. All the guys put so much hard work into it. We really appreciate all your support. Just a wee shout out, obviously, to our sponsors over at Off to the Match I Go. Get over there, scan the QR code, and you'll get a discount if you mention the boys at the Journal for all good Rangers memorabilia. Just once again, I want to say thanks so much to Billy for everything. Thanks so much to everybody for your comments and questions. If you're over in Spain, please be careful, watch yourself. You know what the Spanish police are like. They're not notoriously fond of travellers. But if we go there, behave yourself, have a good beer. If your team win, party into the night. We'll deserve it, and we'll tell the Bilbao police we'll see them again in a couple of weeks in May. Thanks so much again for everybody for watching. And remember, every night is your Rangers Journal night. All the guys will be back after the game for post-match breakdown and for the rest of the stuff through the week. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll speak to you again very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.